Hi YouTube, this is Team Imperius here. We're gonna do our first Force of Will deck list video. We had some people say they wanted to see our lists, so up first is my Alucard, the Dark Noble / Dracula, the Demonic One deck. I chose to do Dracula because not only do I play vampires in every single TCG I play, but I really love the art, and this was the first ruler that I wanted to play when I was looking into the game, so I was able to we pulled him. If you guys watched our opening videos, you saw how excited I got when we pulled him out of the last set of packs. So yeah.
You're welcome.
For those of you who don't know, Dracula is a dark vampire ruler. His J activate is pay 0, however you can only J activate him if you control a vampire on your board and if a creature your opponent controls, or a resignator, excuse me, has died that turn, or has entered a grave that turn. So, his effect is a little confusing to people who are new to the game because it's technically like almost a double negative, but basically, as long as something's entered their grave and you control a vampire, you can flip him for free. And his other effect is an activate. You can tap him, and target resonator gets -0, -3 until end of turn. So, in a way, he's slight spot removal in himself, but you don't really end up using that activate because he's much better on the board than using that effect. So, his J ruler side is Dracula the Demonic One. He's 1000 attack, 1000 defense. He has flying and imperishable. Imperishable is a really cool effect. Basically, if he would be destroyed, then I move him back to the ruler zone, flipped back to the ruler side, meaning imperishable gets around the ruler thing, where if they die as J ruler, they become a vanilla. So, in a way, he can't die. Obviously, there are certain cards to get around this. Helsing is one of the most obvious ones. You target him with Helsing's effect. If the target goes through, then he will lose the imperishable ability and die before it comes back at the end of the turn. So, but other than that, imperishable is really good because in a way you can just keep recycling him, because after a certain point in the game, you have enough magic stones where you don't need to keep tapping him for that, and you can just use him as a blocker and keep bringing him back.
I hate him.
He's great, and his continuous ability is what makes him so good. It says whenever a resonator is set to the grave on your opponent's field, if he had dealt damage to that resonator that turn, then you gain control of it. Now the cool thing about this is that we did a little research, and as of right now, say you bump with him, you still get the creature that it bumped with. So say you swing into a Pied Piper, or a Pied Piper swings into him, they will both die, however you will gain control of the Pied Piper. And that's the ruling we found right now, so that's what we've been playing with. So he's really, really good with that effect. Also, using him to swing on their stuff, steal their stuff, it's just really good. And it makes him terrifying because it makes people stop being so aggro because they know you'll just take them. So he's a great ruler, and now it's on to the main deck. So, I play 4 Hunter and Black Forest. This is a green, red, black deck.
I converted her to a dirty red.
So, I played him. If you guys have watched my On a Budget videos, then you saw me talk about how good this guy is. 1 drop for red with swiftness, and he's a 3/3. So he's really good. Get some early game points in. Also, it's good just to have bodies on the board. So, then the other 1 drop in the deck is for Servant of Vampire. Servant of Vampire is a 1 darkness, 200 attack, 200 defense card. And his continuous ability is as long as, as your opponent plays spells or abilities targeting a vampire you control, he or she must choose this card as one of its targets if able. Meaning he's kind of like a mini lightning rod for your vampires. If they try to thunder stuff off, if they try to if they try to stoning to death, they try to take your stuff, I don't know, do trolley stuff, they have to hit him as long as he's on the board. So he's definitely a 4/of because he protects your stuff. However, one thing to note is that he does not create a lock with 2 of them on the board. It's just they would pick 1 of them. So he's not super busted as other games who generally have this effect, like Marauding Captain from Yu-Gi-Oh! Or anything like that, but he's still a really good card. Next up, I play 4 Gretel. I play 10 Magic Stones, and only 3 of them Gretel cannot fetch, so she's amazing in this deck. When I was playtesting Dracula before I put green in there, I was realizing that it was really a mid to late game deck, and Gretel really helps kind of turbo you into more mid game so you can stand up to more aggro decks and hit control decks before they go off. Other than that, fantastic card. really good. For those of you who don't know, she's a 2-drop, 1 wind and 1 colorless, with 200 attack, 200 defense, and her enter is reveal the top card of your Magic Stone deck. If it is a wind stone, put it into your Magic Stone area. So she's fantastic because she just helps you ramp. Great card, staple if you're running green in my opinion. So, 3 Vampire Staff. Vampire Staff is a rare out of Crimson Moon Fairy Tale. She's 1 darkness and 1 to cast. 400 attack, 400 defense. And she's a vampire. Her continuous effect is at the beginning of your recovery phase, so after you draw, reveal the top card of your deck. This card deals 100 damage to target player for each will symbol, which is the colored symbols, on the card. And you gain that much life. So she's kind of like a mini burn in herself. I love this card, but I'm not gonna lie, she doesn't stay on the board very often because if you don't have anything to prompt her or protect her, she just gets thundered off. But if she does get to stay on the board, even for a couple turns, she'll deal some damage and put a buffer between you and your opponent that is really, really helpful. So I only play 3 of her though, because other than that, she's not really game changing. For Laura the Bloodspeaker, she is a 1 darkness, 1 colorless vampire, 300 attack, 300 defense. She is amazing. She's your searcher in the deck. She has an enter ability. She search your deck for a vampire resonator, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. So not only does she shuffle your deck, she lets you search for any vampire, which is pretty much the majority of your creatures in this deck. Deck thinning is always good in my book, so she is really, really good. Then I finally got my 4. Thank you, Spoon. Carmilla, the Queen of Vampires. She is a 4-drop, 2 darkness will and 2 colorless, 800 attack, 800 defense vampire resonator. She is amazing. This one card, if you can get her to work, will J-activate Dracula. So they're kind of best buds. She has an enter ability, destroy target non-vampire resonator, and if your ruler is Dracula and the resonator you destroyed was a human, you put it back on the field under your control. So really, if you're playing against someone who's playing humans, it's just kind of a super dick move. But all in all, you cast her, you blow up something, you can activate Dracula that turn. So she's really good. She's like a stoning to death, but she's also a creature. Like, she's great. And this one card...
She's got that body.
Yeah, and this one card makes your Dracula active, which is fantastic. And last for creatures, I play 2 Mephistopheles, the Abyssal Tyrant. He is what I like to call the finisher in the deck. He's an amazing card. He's a 4-drop, so same converted mana cost as Carmilla, but he's a 1500 attack, 1500 defense. He has flying and target attack, and his first continuous effect is when he becomes the target of spells or abilities your opponent controls, that player loses 500 life. So say they try to stoning to death him, they're going to get bit in the butt a little bit. Or if they have to, God forbid, they try to thunder him off the board, they're going to take a lot.
He might as well have just swung.
Yeah. And then his last continuous effect is what makes him a little tricky. At the end of your turn, you must banish another resonator. So that being said, he kind of does eat up your field, but if he and Dracula are the only 2 on the field, then he doesn't banish Dracula or anything. So you can... I've had games where I just sit on these 2, and it works because they're really good. A 15-15...
It's the most painful thing.
A 15-15 body is really, really difficult to get over, and so I really like him, but I wouldn't run more than 2 because if you start drawing him early game, you can't do anything. And sometimes you don't want to drop him on turn 4, you'll want to wait, set up the game, kind of thing.
I think he's the biggest base right now.
I think so.
Yeah. He's the biggest base right now as far as a creature is
like,
concerned.
yeah,
There's stuff that can get pumped up bigger than him, but as far as just for base numbers, he's the biggest one.
The only one that's more is the defense on the...
Orochi.
Yeah, Orochi, he's got
Orochi.
2,000 defense.
But as far as power, he's the biggest dude.
So that is all the creatures, and next on is to the spells and instances and stuff like that. I'm going to do a bunch of these in one go because they're basically all in there for the same. So, 3 Thunder, 4 Stoning to Death. All of these kill spells, it's basically the whole point. Thunder is a fantastic card because you can hit a resonator or a player, so you can either pick off the weenies, pick off cards that are just giving you a hard time, or you can just deal, like say they've got just a little bit of life points left, you can deal it to that. And Stoning to Death is amazing because you just straight up destroy target resonator.
Thunder also hits their ruler. Target J or Resonator.
Oh yeah. So you can two thunders will kill off Abdul. One thunder will kill off. One thunder will kill off Little Red, stuff like that. And then Stoning to Death is just a straight destroy Resonator for 2. Fantastic card. Yeah, if you're running black, I say you run Stoning to Death.
Best card.
Yeah. And then 2 Duel of Truths and 2 Blood-Sucking Impulse. These are in here for the same thing. Technically they're interchangeable, but I like running 1 and 1 because this is cheaper. Or 2 and 2. Well, I can count. So, Blood-Sucking Impulse is a 2-drop spell chant instant. This says target vampire you control deals damage equal to its attack to another Resonator. Then you gain life equal to half of that damage rounded up to the nearest hundredth. So, I'll explain why that's in here for a second. And then Duel of Truths is a 1-drop for red. Target J Resonator you control and target J Resonator your opponent controls deals damage to each other equal to their attacks. So basically this will force 2 to fight that are on the board, and it can hit J Rulers, which makes it really, really good. This can only hit Resonators, but you gain life off of it. And they don't exchange, it just does damage, which is why I run 2 copies. And both of these are in here to make him super annoying, because you can make him the original target for either one of these, and say you use this, blow up one of the things, you get it because of his effect. Same thing with that. So they're both in here for them, but sometimes, say they got a really big thing on the board and I can't get it off for some reason, I can use these, or at least Duel of Truth, to use Mephistopheles and smack something in the face. So these cards are really good, but I run 2 and 2 because they have different uses and different wordings. I run 2 of Alvarez the Demon Castle. It is a 2-drop, 1 darkness, 1 colorless. Edition Field Castle. It has 2 effects. The first is a continuous. Each vampire you control gets +2/+2 because making Dracula bigger is just really nice, and it gives all your stuff a buff, excuse me. And it makes
It's a bus.
and it gives it makes a lot of your vampires unthunderable. It pushes, I think the only one it can't push over to be not thunderable is a Servant. So it's a good card. And then its second, I don't use the second as often, but it's still a good effect. It's activate, pay 1 black will, and banish this card. Put target vampire resonator from your graveyard into your hand, so you can recycle some of your stuff that might have gotten blown up. Then 2 Zeeks, the Ancient Magic. This thing has 1.5 billion effects. So I'm going to summarize it. It's a 2-drop instant, 2 green will. So if your ruler is not True Little Red or Crimson Girl in the Sky, then you choose 1. If it is her, you choose you can choose up to all of them. So target Resonator cannot be targeted by spells or abilities. Counter target summon spell. Each Resonator you control gets +2/+2 until end of turn, or shuffle all cards from a target player's graveyard back into their respective decks. This card is amazing because it has so many uses. If you're playing someone who's playing the Necronomicon loop, you can kind of screw them over by shuffling everything back in the deck. If you someone's playing a lot of control, they keep stoning to death or spiking off your stuff or trying to target it with effects, you can make it untargetable. The most common use for this is to counter target summon spell, because as far as I know, it's the only card in the game that can do that. So say you know they're going to drop something really big, you can't deal with it, you Zeeks it, which is great. Giving everything +2/+2 is just kind of trolly. Yeah.
I used that earlier today.
Just a trolley effect, but it's still really good. This card is amazingly versatile. However, I did find that running more copies of it, especially in this deck that already runs a lot of spells, it was kind of redundant. So I say I have 2 and you save them for absolute emergencies. And then the last 2 cards in the main deck is Law of Silence. This card is one of my favorites, and this card really turns the tide of the game. It's a 2-drop, 2 grass, will, whatever, 2 green, spell, chant instant. Target player cannot play normal spells and summon spells until end of turn. Basically, you use this card on someone's draw phase and they can't do anything. They just have to use the effects that are already on the board or use their ruler's effects or J ruler's effects. So this card is amazing because say you know you have game, you just can't do it in 1 turn. Drop Law of Silence on their draw so you know they can't cast anything else. Or if you have game and you just want to make sure they don't do anything stupid, you can drop Law of Silence on your draw step and make it so they can't use any instances on you during your turn. So this card's amazing, but like I said, with Zeke's, I found that it can kind of clog the deck if you run too many, so I have 2. And then...
Silence dead 3 turns in a row today.
Because you're a jerk.
I am a jerk.
And then for my stones, 4 Stone of Black Silence. This one taps for black or green. 3 Stone of Blasting Waves. This one taps for green or red. 2 Stone of Scorching Bales. This one taps for black or red. And then 1 fifth thing, the Holy Windstone. Taps for green, but you can also tap it and a green. Target J Resonator you control cannot be targeted by normal spells until end of turn. So it gives them kind of hexproof. Obviously they can still be targeted by abilities, but you can't, someone can't thunder or whatever one of your creatures. So
you can just do it in response, and then everyone hates you.
Yeah, so that's my stone deck. I run 10. Like I said before, these 3 are the only 3 that cannot be searched with Gretel, which means that she only whiffs when I'm having a bad day, which happens a lot, but still. Not as bad as some people. So, that is my deck. I would normally show a sideboard to you guys, but I don't have one completed right now, so I don't want to show you guys a messed up one. So, that is my Dracula, the demonic one, black, red, green deck. Thank you for watching. Definitely leave comments below, suggestions, and we'll get some videos with me playing this deck up soon. So, thank you. Have a good day.
See you guys.